Channel here over at SubStars. So, game developer conference advisor and video game consultant and developer Marina Díez says, "F the beautiful people of the light and the gamekeepers." And if you look closely, it's a little bit blurry. It looks like she shaved the side of her head because she's oh so random, oh so punk rock. Like every chick in the comic book has got that same stupid haircut. So, girl power gaming. What is going on here is they have created an artificial reality using Frankfurt School manipulation techniques, and the key element of anything, as I've been reading about advertising, brainwashing, and propaganda, is simply repetition. That's the first major part. Almost no matter how asinine the message is, it's repetition, repetition, and keeping a straight face, like pretending if you can fool people into taking yourself seriously and just keep repeating the message. You go, oh, that can't possibly be that simple. Look where we are now. Look at some of the things. It's just progress that you wouldn't have accepted 50 years ago, or your grandparents wouldn't have accepted, how many decades ago. Look at where we are now, and how we got there is simply repetition of a message. I mean, it's incremental, and it takes decades. But if you look at where we are now, I mean, almost want to say like drop some psilocybin or something to really see it, and to really see where we are now. It should be a shocking kind of they live moment. Repetition turns out to be magic. And forming groups, then writing articles, and then Bootstrap referencing each other's nonsense articles is how the left wing works in general. Because they're able to build something out of almost nothing. And obviously, this is only possible through funding from, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, those types. And they're only too eager to fund things. Though I will say things might be getting to the point where they're running out of other people's money. So what happens is they create this fictional hierarchy based on these bullshit methods, and then they simply put themselves at the top. And I got to give credit to the trans community for doing that, because they effectively had, just because they're the ones who are writing an massive overrepresentation of online articles and online social media footprint, where they just repeat this message that they're the most marginalized and oppressed. And it's like, it's all fake. Yeah, all of it is fake. Dave Chappelle was whining about it as well. It's like he's not marginal. His group's not marginalized and oppressed either. It's kind of a meaningless thing. It's like we could say we were if we just kept repeating it, but we don't have the institutional capture that the left wing has. So what they do is they're powerful enough to create such an artificial reality that they displace people with immutable characteristics, like Dave Chappelle's gang, simply by simply they've got better public relations. I mean, they write these endless articles, and they're doing a lot of this stuff for free. It's like years ago when Diversity in Comics was talking about these people would get into positions of power even if it was free. They want to be mods on back in the days of boards and whatnot, so they can control the narrative. And it's amazing how powerful it is. That's something the left does, is they're willing to, because a lot of them are mentally ill, they're willing to sacrifice a lot of time and energy to get these Reddit positions or these board positions on social media boards, and they'll spend their time making sure that they're curating the narrative. And it's like over a course of a couple decades, again, the evidence is just look around at the kind of evil degeneracy that we accept now. So now essentially what you've got, because of that repetition of a bizarre Frankfurt School message, is where a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nordic central casting guy can put himself at the top of the oppression hierarchy simply by wearing lipstick and endlessly talking about his oppression and repetition of that message and pretending to take himself seriously. I don't know, maybe the self-delusion is strong enough that these people really do take themselves seriously. And Dave Chappelle was pissed off that his grift was pushed off the top by the fictional sexuality grift. And the thing is, I can look at both of them and go, yeah, they're both horseshit. So it's all possible because obviously total institutional woke capture. And we're talking about billions of dollars in play here. And most people are kind of lazy NPCs who don't understand how important all this is, and they think someone else will take care of it. So, female game developer, I already forgot her name, has issues with men of European descent, who is kind of a weird thing because they're the majority of her audience. So, first of all, the fact that woke game consultancy is a thing is absolutely insane. Games don't need political commissars. You just need to have the engineers or the software, whoever, the nerds who are making the games and the artistic people make the games. Get some Laura Croft type of character, or that chainsaw chick, TNA, and then just sell the games, and that's it. You don't actually need a go between. You don't need a woke political commissar to come in there and oh no, we're a consulting company. It's like, you're just gonna make the tits smaller, aren't you? And make her like the waistline bigger or something. And you want Anita Sarkeesian wants to make $75,000 to consult on that. It's like, yeah, we don't actually need you. We're gonna go with ridiculous TNA and amazing jiggle physics. So the other thing is, these people are the problem. They're the most hateful, mentally ill grifters who are essentially parasites in an industry. And there's no way they'd be able to make money doing this organically if it wasn't for the Larry Fink types pushing this woke, anti-white, globalist agenda. Because these people bring nothing to the table. They're actually a negative, where if they were all fired, the games would sell better. They're only possible in diversity, inclusion, and all this kind of nonsense. So for European people as well, and for Christians or for man, no, not so much. It's everyone but people who look like you. So the thing is, if they're all fired, all these games would sell better. It's only possible in this kind of top-weighted human resource heavy system where we are now. It's like these people shouldn't have been hired in the first place. It's like those videos that you just go around about people who are working at Twitter, and it was like a 27-year-old woman who showing you like the yogurt bar at Twitter, and the yoga room and the meditation room and the cry, all this kind of bizarre stuff, and the guy comes along and he fires half the people in those kind of human resource type of jobs where they're doing nothing and they're getting paid insane amount of money for it. And look what happened. Twitter ran just fine. So being a woke grifter actually is their industry. The Anita Sarkeesians, the Zoe Quinn types, where they're raging against the machine by following the instructions of BlackRock. The ability of them to kid themselves, to delude themselves, the lack of self-awareness is really staggering. You'd think like at some point, some people on the left would kind of have an eye-opening come to Jesus moment when they realize, the stone toss meme of the tug of war, and you see who you're tugging with, and it's like literally BlackRock and Coca-Cola and Bank of America. And I have a feeling that when this snaps back, it's going to be absolutely brutal, because look at what the left has normalized over the past few years. Racism, sexism, religious hatred. It's all totally acceptable, and it's on the table. And they've attacked groups as groups, not as individuals. Who's that guy I'm talking about the Kanye. Who's that guy who was interviewing? Some guy was desperate to try to control the narrative, to say that people are individuals. And you go, yeah, sure, for sure. But if you're being attacked as a group, you have to defend yourself as a group. So it's made these marginalized and oppressed people of European descent see themselves as a tribe, which is awesome, and they start to look at these racist people attacking them as the problem, which they are. The left wants to attack based on identity politics, but then they get terrified when these groups start to understand that they need to form in-group preferences to defend themselves from their virtue signaling oppressors. I'm dog sitting and cat sitting, actually, but only the dog's barking. So everything is kind of upside down. The left is projecting. They're the racists, the sexists, the bigots, and the intolerant, all that kind of nonsense, hot words. It's making us understand that we have to gatekeep these people. Don't work them. Keep them out of our circles. Keep them out of anything you're dealing with the extent you can. And you can use social media for a lot of that. And honestly, the left has done us a favor because they've gone so mask off about their group identity and needing to have safe spaces for their tribal groups, which makes it easier for a lot of kind of normies who haven't been paying attention to go, oh, well, we should also like just have groups for us only, which is awesome, because why would we want to be around people like this, women like this, who hate us based just based on race. The cat is much nicer. Let me pause this for one sec. And one of the funny things about the left is they've started eating their own tails because of the whole trans thing. Because now there's a division between those who want men and women's spaces and the J.K. Rowling types who want women to have like sex-based areas, who believe in biological differences, which they should have, as well as race-based separation. Why would people want to endlessly argue with these folks? So the deal with this is they call themselves marginalized and oppressed, and then they get funding to sit around a table. Like, you look at this table and you know these people are useless. You know they're bringing nothing to this table but appetites. So at some point you got to just look at these people and say, keep far away from us. Go make your woke games, your movies, and we can just save our money. I'd rather listen to an Odyssey live stream or a Rumble than watch anything out of Hollywood. I don't think Hollywood's going to turn around. It had the Deadpool 3 movie, which was just barely okay. That was all it was. And if you think, oh, well, yeah, but that surely signals a turning point. They're going to go in that direction and try to profit again. I wouldn't hold your breath on that. So as for video games, well, there's no shortage of old games available. Nobody actually needs to go out there and play Concord or Dustborn. And there's talking about all these other games that are on the horizon, and they're going to do the same thing to them. To just call these people out. Oh, and what, Assassin's Creed comes out in a month or something. It's set in Japan like 500 years ago, so it's got a Japanese spy girl. All right, fair enough. And then it has a black samurai for some reason. And the media is finally starting acknowledging that there is an issue, but they're trying to frame it as, I don't know, a far right issue. And they had to admit, like, oh, there's some small little group in Japan that seems to be upset about this. It's like, oh, it's not just the Chads in America, is it? So she called this idiot, locked her account down, of course, because she's so confident about the stupid things she said. And she's just super anti-white, as this guy went through and searched all her tweets. But the confusing thing is, I'm not sure exactly what she thinks she is, what ethnicity or how she identifies. Or, I mean, I guess nowadays you can just identify as anything you want. It's all like totally meaningless. Yeah, of course, these people are just kind of useful idiots. The puppet masters told them to hate one group of people, us, the beautiful people of the light, we're such godlike creatures that we're the ones who make the stories that they have to steal from or race swap from. It's like they can't just. The English seem to be the top of the food chain for story race swapping and I don't know, what do they call it? Cultural appropriation. And it's like their rules their nonsense is so hypocritical, but not enough people actually care enough to point it out. And like, I think it's important because the culture, everything is interconnected, and the culture war is connected to politics, is connected to perception, and perception is connected to repetition of a message, which is brainwashing, advertising, and whatnot. Even if the message is so asinine, like, my son heard at school that he can be a girl and can take cross-sex hormones and be sterilized, and it'll get him a lot of attention. And people accept that because of repetition of a message and these slowly boiling the frog to get where we are now. So the thing is, if these useful idiots on the left wing who hate us, if the media and academia, they're the ones who control the narrative, if they told them to hate the Japanese, they could, and it would just take like 3 years, and suddenly all this hatred against us would mostly have shifted over to the Japanese, and they would think it was an organic development, that they were kind of the ones in charge of it. And you look at it and you go like, you'll fall for anything because you don't have any core dogma. You don't stand for anything because they don't think for themselves. They can be brainwashed to do and feel anything. A left-wing woman in gaming is pretty much the definition of an NPC, and probably getting paid really well to do these little conferences and go to hotels and sit around at a table and just, I mean, it's, these people, like, you look at that table, and those people are just like dead weight, absolute heavyweighted human resource, top heavy people that if you wanted to cut costs in a company and increase profitability, you'd cut all those people at the table, you'd be like, okay, you're fired. We're going to replace you with men, and actually be profitable. And it's it's okay to crap all over these parasites, because it's important to show people who they are and how they really feel. And if this kind of, all the anti-white comments she was saying, it's like, obviously you just swap out that for any other group and it would be abhorrent. And it becomes very clear that these people just hate you. Like, they're the problem. They've always been the problem. You're saying the left wing's a racist the whole time? Yeah, they're deeply, deeply hateful, useful idiot people who will just do whatever they're told as long as they have enough time to boil the frog. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.